Texas runs out of gas in Stillwater. Volleyball shuts out West Virginia. And a full recap of all the F1 action taking place in Austin this past weekend. All this and more coming up next on College Press Box.
Good evening and welcome to College Press Box. I'm your host, Justin Goosman, and he's Robert Gonsoulin. We've got a great show for you today.
Texas suffered their third loss of the season and killed the rest of their slim playoff hopes on Saturday as they fell to 11th ranked Oklahoma State 41-34. It was their first defeat of the season where starting quarterback Quinn Ewers played the entire game. Here's how the matchup played out. Starting off in the first quarter, it's Bijan Robinson breaking free for a 41-yard touchdown all the way to the end zone. It would be Bijan's 11th touchdown of the season as the Horns would regain an early lead. Team's excited. Next drive. Near the end of the first quarter, quarterback Quinn Ewers drops back and throws a screen to Xavier Worthy, which would end up being a 30-yard touchdown. Worthy would go on to lead the Horns in receiving yards that day with 78. He's been electric for Texas all season and arguably Ewers' favorite target. Heading into the second quarter, second play of the drive, Quinn Ewers connects again, this time with Bijan Robinson for a 41-yard touchdown. He can run, he can catch. Is there anything this man cannot do? Hey, he's just adding that impressive Heisman resume he's been building. But there's a lot of game left to play. A couple drives later, Polk's looking to tie it back up, but it's Ryan Watts with the interception in the end zone. Stephon Johnson Jr. would try to snatch it back from him, but the ball would be turned over. Sanders definitely was not happy after turning a 63-yard drive into straight up nothing. Just under 4 minutes to go before halftime, it's Roschon Johnson this time breaking free. He could go all the way. It would be a 52-yard touchdown run and Johnson's second of the season. The Longhorns are back on top and the running game is shining. Skipping ahead to the fourth quarter, Cowboys still trailing by a touchdown. Sanders drops and finds Brendan Presley nearly wide open for a 10-yard score. We've got a ball game now and Oklahoma State fans absolutely love it. It's a 34 apiece. But OSU wouldn't stop there. Over 3 minutes left to go in the game, Sanders strikes again. It's Bryson Green now breaking 2 tackles and running 41 yards all the way to the house. The Cowboys are back where they want to be, and it's now up to Sark and the offense to respond back. But time left in the game is running out. Will Texas capitalize on their final shot? It's Quinn Ewers slinging it downfield, and the pass is tipped. Picked off by Kendall Daniels, and the Oklahoma State Cowboys sealed come-from-behind victory. Ewers finishes with 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Bijan Robinson finishes with 2 scores.
Now I am lucky to be joined by our Texas football analysts, Carter Yates and Abbie Barkan. Thank you for joining us. Starting off, Steve Sarkisian is now 10-10 in his career as Texas head coach, and it seems like a trend is beginning to form in a lot of those losses. At what point should Texas fans be concerned about second-half blown leads?
Look, the numbers are not kind to Steve Sarkisian when analyzing his team's ability to close close games thus far in his tenure. He now has a 10-10 record through his first 20 contests as coach, and in 7 of those losses, Texas has blown a second-half lead. In this Oklahoma State game on Saturday, Texas led 31-17 with just under 3 minutes to go in the first half, and then later nursed a 10-point lead with a minute left in the third quarter. Here's my take on the first 20 games of his tenure. Sark has done a great job in the week's game preparation, but other coaches in the Big 12 are consistently winning the battle of second-half adjustments against Texas. Take the past Oklahoma State game, for example. Sark's able to draw up some magical plays to allow Quinn Ewers time to settle in. First, he brings Xavier Worthy on a fake bubble motion before swinging him back out to the left side where he can walk untouched in the end zone. Then, after a blocked punt gave Texas the ball in plus territory, he sent the 2 outside receivers on crossing patterns before swinging Bijan out in the wheel route for a 41-yard touchdown. But Texas got outscored in the second half 17-3, and Texas's 9 drives in the second half were brutal. 5 punts, 1 turnover on down, 2 interceptions. Not only did the offense fall apart, but the team lost their heads in a raucous Stillwater environment, committing 14 penalties on the day to Oklahoma State's 0. That was the first time in Cowboy history they finished the game with 0 penalties, by the way. So right now, I am worried about Sark's 1-6 record. I am worried about the 5 blown double-digit second-half leads, but I am not willing to press the panic button yet. Texas is still a relatively young team on the offensive line and in the defensive secondary, and I think Sark does have this program moving in the right direction.
Abbie, quarterback Quinn Ewers had his first stinker of a game this weekend, and fans on Twitter seem to want Hudson Card to take over. Given this performance, is Quinn Ewers the right man for the job?
You know, after the 49-0 win against Oklahoma just 2 weeks ago, many hyped up Ewers as one of the nation's best quarterback, especially one of the best Texas quarterbacks to ever be seen in Longhorn history. The close game win against Iowa State last weekend definitely hushed some of the fans regarding Ewers. However, after this week's loss to Oklahoma State, the hype is officially over after Ewers made countless mistakes. Sark and his team are almost 100% eliminated from the Big 12 title race with 2 losses. Ewers only completed 19 of his 49 passes for 319 yards, while also throwing 3 interceptions, one of them during the crucial last minute of the game. Sark was asked about swapping Ewers with Hudson Card, said no, while also stating that Ewers will continue to be his quarterback. Look, this was Ewers' first road start since playing for South Lake Carroll High School back in 2020, therefore making this his first road start at the collegiate level. He definitely has a lot to work on, but we have to remember, Ewers has played very little football at the collegiate level. The freshman made no excuses after the weekend, stating, "I need to practice better." Not only does Ewers have a lot to work on, but so does the rest of the team and the coaches. Sark still believes in Ewers, and so should the fans, at least for now.
Now I'll ask a question to both of you. Following the Alabama game, this Texas team had extremely high hopes, but following their 3rd loss of the season and likely missing out on a chance to go to the Big 12 championship, what needs to happen for this season to be considered a success? Carter, I'll start with you.
I think the Alabama game definitely had Longhorn faithful maybe a little more optimistic about the final results of the season. But if we're talking final record at the end of the season right now, I think this year can be considered an undoubted success if Texas finishes 8-4. That means they need to win 3 of their last 4 games. And I know Texas fans were expecting, like we said, the Longhorns after that Alabama game. Quinn Ewers looked so good. They were going to run the table and have an outside shot at a college football playoff. But I think Texas is too young of a team to seriously contend for a Big 12 title, much less a college football playoff championship. Until next season, that is. Here are a few things I want to specifically see from a team standpoint for this season to be a success. 1, Quinn Ewers has to finish the season playing in every game. We see the natural talent he has, and frankly, before the OSU game, he was better than anyone expected. But he still has not played a lot of football like Abbie was just talking about in the last 2 years. This was just his 4th full game. I want to see him handle the last 2 road environments the schedule will throw at him, and I think he will be a better player down the road for his struggles against OK State. Now, in terms of those 2 road contests, Texas needs to win both of them. They have 2 weeks to prepare for Kansas State and Manhattan, which is always a daunting road atmosphere. And that will be able to show that Quinn Ewers has settled down. The entire team has learned from playing in Stillwater. I think it's going to be a great sign for the direction of the program. Then the next road game is against the Kansas Jayhawks, who have cooled from their hot start. That one is a must win. For Sark, you can't start off 0-2 against Kansas in your Texas tenure. Win 3 out of 4, including your 2 road games, and have Quinn Ewers prove he can mentally bounce back by playing in every game and playing clean football. And I think this season's a success.
You know, I'm going to have to agree with Carter. If the Longhorns can finish out the season strong, especially starting Ewers for the rest of the season, the team will be in good spirits going into the offseason, which should carry through to the 2023 season. The last 4 games of the season are within the Big 12, as Carter just said, so it's crucial that Texas wins at least 3 out of the 4, or even better, 4 of the 4. Last year, Texas was able to beat Kansas State and TCU. However, they lost to both Baylor and Kansas. I would say the most realistic goal would be to beat Kansas, Kansas State, and Baylor, with Kansas State being the only ranked team at number 22. I mean, how great would it be if Texas could beat TCU? The odds will definitely not be in the Longhorns' favor, as TCU beat Oklahoma State and is now ranked number 7. But as long as we compete and put up a fight, I would call this season quite a success.
Carter and Abbie, thank you guys for joining us. Robert, back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Carter and Abbie. When we come back to College Press Box, we'll jump right into volleyball as they scored a 3-0 win over West Virginia over the weekend. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to College Press Box. This past week, the Longhorns were back in action as the volleyball team competed against West Virginia Mountaineers after suffering an upset loss against Iowa State this past week. I'll send it over to Robert to break it all down.
I'd now like to welcome in our volleyball analyst, James Winkin. James, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's get right into it. James, as you know, Texas Volleyball was still #1 ranked coming into this game against West Virginia. After a devastating loss to Iowa State Wednesday, they were able to break their undefeated record. Many, though, believe that the game prior to that was a fluke. What would you have to say about this?
Well, it seems to me that Texas was able to put the devastating loss in the back of their mind, hitting the ground running from the first round onwards. Many teams after such a devastating loss tend to crash and burn, but this team is different. It kept its composure, and through the usage of much needed defense and some key digs, Texas was able to put West Virginia away easily. Within the first round, Texas was dominant, with their hit percentage being 462 to West Virginia's 161. I would say that the Iowa State game prior was nothing more than a fluke for sure, and that the revenge tour got started immediately once 7 p.m. struck last Saturday night. Texas showed us why they were #1 and why they still deserve to be #1 in the nation.
What was the key towards Texas coming out strong and winning this game? What was different from this game and the Iowa State game?
Well, if your eyes glare at the stats, you would think that there was no difference from Saturday's game to Wednesday's game. Texas beat both teams statistic-wise, but when you look at the cold hard facts state that the usage of defense, teamwork, and less mental errors created the blowout victory for Texas last Saturday. Texas only had 6 attack errors this time around and the assisting was way more spread out. I mean, Sage Kahaina Torres being the team leader led with 25 assists on the day.
Everyone was indeed playing a part while playing against West Virginia, but who do you believe was the key player of this game?
I think that award has to go to no other than Logan Eggleston. Well, she was all over the place running like the Tasmanian devil. She had a total of 8 kills, no scoping opponents left and right, and put on her best Mutombo impression, letting West Virginia know that there will be no scoring in her house. Although Eggleston may not have led in any of the respective categories, it was her true effort and presence that made her my key player of the game.
Thanks for joining us, James. When we return, we'll have our producer, Samantha Perl, to break down Formula One. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back into College Press Box. Over the weekend, many eyes in the world were focusing in on our beloved city as F1 racers went bumper to bumper at the Circuit of the Americas in the United States Grand Prix. Our very own Samantha Perl, who's making her College Press Box debut of the year, now joins us to recap all of the action.
It was an action-packed weekend of Formula One at the Circuit of the Americas. This year was the racetrack's 10th anniversary of holding Formula One's races. On Friday, there were practice sessions, Saturday was qualifying, and Sunday was the race. It was also a record of attendees at COTA with over 440,000 people. In the highlights, I will be going over the race that happened on Sunday. It was very thrilling to watch. So now let's take a look at the highlights from the 2022 United States Aramco Grand Prix. All right, we first have the race start, and we see Max Verstappen is ahead of Carlos Sainz, and right at the corner, big crash right there. Really disappointing for Carlos Sainz as he is stopped. And he continues, but later, oh, here's the replay right here. We see George Russell hitting him right there, spinning, and then he continues onward. Extremely disappointing for him as he was in first place for qualifying on Saturday, Carlos Sainz. George Russell gets a 5-second time penalty the next time he pits. And here is lap 5. George Russell of Mercedes, he's gaining DRS and he's able to pass Lance Stroll. We're going to see that in a moment. There we go. And now Russell is in third place. Also in this lap, we will see Nicholas Latifi in Williams. He spins right there, and he's out of the race. Lap 6, Sergio Perez loses his front wing. We saw that right there. And he is able to gain a position past Lance Stroll of Aston Martin. Lap 12, then Charles Leclerc is able to pass up Sebastian Vettel and gets into 6th place. Lap 18. Fortunately, another crash right there. Valtteri Bottas of Alfa Romeo spun and crashes. It was at turn 19. Here is that replay. And yellow flag was waved, which means that the safety car was deployed. Works in other drivers' favor. Sad for him. Lap 19, here is Charles Leclerc. He pit stops. Great for him because he gets his tires changed. And this is lap 19. And then it's right now, Charles Leclerc is able to get into 4th place before he was in 2nd. Lap 22, then yet another crash at Coda. Fernando Alonso of Alpine crashes into the wall. Now there's tons of debris on the track, as you can see. Yeah, extremely disappointing for him. And we see, here's the replay right here. Fernando Alonso, he makes air and he spins. Yeah, he spins and then he goes left into the wall right there. Yeah, disappointing for him. Lance Stroll is going to be out of the race. Okay, lap 30. Here we have Leclerc in 4th, trying to overtake Checo. Can he do it? Yes, he's able to do it. Lap 36. Here's a pit stop for Max Verstappen. Extremely long, they're usually around a few seconds, but as we can see, it's going to be around 20 seconds of pit stop for him. And they're having an issue with the equipment. And there they go, out of the pit lane. Lap 39. Sebastian Vettel is in 1st, Hamilton is in 2nd, and Max Verstappen is trying to overtake Charles Leclerc. Can he do it? No. Leclerc does the old switcheroo, and he takes 3rd. What an overtake right there. And here we have Verstappen trying to hold his pole position, or hold his position, and is able to. Let's take a look at that replay right there. Yeah, there he goes. Leclerc is not able to get past him. Lap 41. Lewis Hamilton is able to overtake Sebastian Vettel to get 1st. Lap 48. Fernando Alonso of Alpine is able to get past Kevin Magnussen of Alfa Romeo, as we can see here. Here's that replay. We can see that part of his right side mirror comes off. Lap 50. Hamilton leads the race, but then Max Verstappen is able to overtake Hamilton. Hamilton sees what Max is doing, but is he able to get ahead of him? No. Unsuccessful for him. Can Max Verstappen keep 1st? I guess we'll find out. Going around the corner. All right, lap 52. We have Sebastian Vettel, who's at the top of the leaderboard, but he dropped down to 10th. But then we see that he's able to overtake Alex Albon. Now he's in 9th. Great for him. There was a huge battle during the race between 9th. And finally, the last lap of the race. Let's see if Max can do it. And he wins. Hamilton finished in 2nd and Charles Leclerc finishes in 3rd. But we're not done just yet. And now we see that Sebastian Vettel is trying to take 8th. Can he do it? Can he overtake Kevin Magnussen? Yes, he did. Great for them. It was a really thrilling race to watch. And here is Tim Cook waving the checkered flag to end the race. It was a thrilling race to watch. So much drama, disappointment, loss, and excitement. But it will definitely be one of those races to remember. It was also really important for Red Bull to win the Constructors' Championship and get first for their team because of the passing of Red Bull's founder, Dietrich Mateschitz. That's everything I have about the race this weekend. I'm going to throw it back to the desk with Robert and Justin. Robert, Justin?
Thank you for that, Samantha. When we return, we recap the last week in Texas sports. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back into College Press Box. We'll now do a recap of Texas sports from this past week. Starting off, 23rd ranked soccer gets the win against Oklahoma State by a score of 2-1. The team remains unbeaten in Big 12 play so far as they've become the regular season Big 12 champions. They play Oklahoma on Thursday, and admission to the game will be free.
Indianapolis head coach Frank Reich informed the media this week that Sam Ehlinger is going to take over as the starter for the Colts this week as Matt Ryan suffered a grade 2 shoulder sprain. Reich emphasized that the plan is for Ehlinger to start the rest of the season, which means that the former UT quarterback will take the reins of the Colts at the helm the rest of the way.
Texas women's golf finished 4th at the Stanford Intercollegiate this past weekend. The host and reigning NCAA champions took first. The Longhorns will resume play in 2023.
The Texas men won 7 total events this past weekend in swimming and diving, but their match against Indiana would come down to the final 400-yard freestyle relay, getting a victory by the skin of their teeth with a little over 0.4 of a second to spare in the end.
Taking a look ahead at this week in Longhorn sports.
On Wednesday, we have basketball playing an orange versus white game at 5:30. Volleyball will take on Texas Tech at 7 p.m. On Thursday, we have soccer playing against Oklahoma at 7 p.m. on Longhorn Network. Saturday, we have basketball taking on Arkansas. And on Sunday, women's basketball will take on DePaul.
That'll wrap things up for this week's episode of College Press Box. Make sure to tune in to our other shows this week, including College Crossfire on Wednesday, Want to Know Sports on Friday. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in the master control room, our executive producer Samantha Perl, and everyone else at TSTV. I'm Robert Gonsoulin. He's Justin Goosman. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.